Hey guys, it's McGann back with more FNAF theories! Last time, most of you seemed to like my thoughts of Henry and William Afton, and this time I want to chat about Michael because I think there's a way to better connect the books and games if we expand our minds just a little bit. I know, the books being canon is almost like a bad word in FNAF culture, as if everything is perfectly contained within the information we've been given and no new factors or influence could possibly exist. But don't be such rigid-minded fuddy-duddies. The notion that they're definitely separate universes is a total misconception from everything I've read. To the contrary, Carlton has gone out of his way to be vague about it, even answering that the books could be, quote, a different timeline, an alternate universe, a different location, or perhaps from a vantage point that isn't entirely what it appears to be. I think that last option rings truest, especially when considering the Freddy files, where it states that the novels are set in the FNAF universe, not alternate universe or multiverse, and that debates have been raging among fans about how the books tie into games, but for now, their connection remains shrouded in mystery. No solid answer means the door is wide open to connect everything if you can. And honestly, there is so much in this series taken as fact without any confirmation, so just go on this ride with me without worrying so much about canon. Mr. Glasses, I'm looking at you. So to do a brief, spoiler-riddled recap on Michael, in the games, we know that the first game's night guard is named Mike, which, duh, is short for Michael. In sister location, we also see a label that says Mike on the hand unit, and part of the ending has a line that starts with,
"Father, it's me, Michael."
Obviously, assuming we're the same guard every night, that strongly suggests that we play as Michael in sister location. Book-wise, Michael is the name of a child that disappears at Freddy's in Hurricane, Utah. Michael's body is never found, but we piece together that he was killed in the 80s and is one of the ghost children during the 90s setting of the books. In the Silver Eyes, one of the other characters, Carlton, is positive that Golden Freddy is Michael. It was kind of vague logic, but it was something about Goldie's aura and his quote voice that made Carlton believe that. So that means it can't be the same Michaels from the games then, right? Because game Michael is an adult during a timeline where book Michael was already dead. Well, that's where it gets really interesting. While I agree that Michael is an extremely common name, so two people having it isn't impossible, don't forget that this entire FNAF universe is constructed. Scott Cawthon picked the names Mike and Michael for a reason, I think. Or maybe we're just being trolled so we think his stories are deeper than they are. I'm open to the possibilities, but this is a theory, dagnabbit, so I'm going to theorize. I would like to consider the idea that Michael is not connected to any specific animatronic. I mean, if we evaluate Goldie, it appears that it's just a mascot suit with no robotic components to allow it to move on its own. That puts Goldie at an immediate disadvantage since the rest of the FNAF crew are able to move around. And for the most part, Goldie just sits there limp on the floor. Plus, there was that bit about the spirit staying with the flesh, implying that Afton essentially got the kids to be grinded into the gears of the animatronics, and that's why they're possessed. Obviously, though, that puts Goldie in a unique situation because he has no gears, and so, by the logic laid forth by the books, Michael can't be attached to that suit because his flesh and blood isn't all mixed in there. The Silver Eyes even mentions that when Bonnie opens his mouth, there's this putrid smell, making it seem like the robot is full of a decayed substance. And isn't it weird that Goldie seems to phase in and out, whereas the other animatronics have to physically walk to your location? Not to mention, Ghost Michael seems very well informed about what's going on, whereas all the other spirits are in this denial bubble with no acknowledgement that their souls are partially possessing giant robots. So I think the answer here is that Michael didn't die like everyone else. Where the other kids were ground up and basically consumed by animatronics, Michael had a less horrific death. Perhaps it was quicker, or maybe he just suffocated in the Goldie suit during a hot day. It could even be that Michael wasn't properly sedated before his death, so he was way more aware of what was going on, meaning his spirit has matured heard and processed more than the others. Oh, and let's not forget that Michael alone appears to have the power of drawing. In The Silver Eyes, the character Jason sees drawings change as a warning that he needs to get out of Freddy's, and it is strongly implied that those drawings came from Michael, which makes him the only spirit to communicate without a robot, as well as the only ghost kid who is aware that they're all dead and that Afton is dangerous. In the fourth closet, the drawings are even more interesting as they seem to summon the other spirits at Michael's will. Almost like he drew them these nice images to live in so that their afterlife isn't so awful. It's like Michael is protecting the other kids from the truth of their deaths so that way they can have some small contentment and peace with their situation. But even more bizarre is when Carlton is injured and Michael places a drawing on Carlton and tells him he'll die without it. To quote the book, "Go be with your friends," he smiled, but Michael didn't get up. He was looking at Carlton's chest where someone had placed a drawing over his wound. "This is part of you," Carlton said, grasping at the picture. "You'll die without it," Michael whispered. "I can't keep this," Carlton shook his head as Michael pushed it back. "You can give it to me next time you see me." Michael smiled and the drawing began to fade, hovering where Michael had placed it for a last moment before the ghostly image vanished, seeming to sink into Carlton's chest. "Thank you," Carlton heard the echo of Michael's voice, but Michael was gone and there was nothing but light. The next thing we know, Carlton is waking up in the hospital, refusing to answer questions about the event, drinking from a juice box, and inquiring on what happened to Robotic Charlie. What? Guys, Michael isn't some sweet little ghost boy saving his old friend. He is actively possessing things like some poltergeist. Curious that even when the name Mike appears on the hand unit, the machine messes with you and pulls pranks that a kid would find hysterical. But cutesy little hauntings aside, I think that Michael took over Carlton's body. That's what absorbing the picture at the same time Michael disappeared meant. And if that's right, it makes the statement at the end of Sister Location very interesting.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you. And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She's free now. But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
There's a few ways we could look at this. For example, maybe Michael is possessing one thing after another until he gets in the most advantageous position to do what he's trying to do. So maybe he possessed Carlton, then went into Carlton's father, then into the hand unit, then into the weird night guard. Maybe. Possibilities are endless here. But aside from the one I just mentioned, here's my favorite option. Let's say that the father referred to is Clay, Carlton's father and the local police chief in the book. Clay had become very obsessed with the animatronics, and he even moved them into his own basement for a while, which made his wife leave him. Rightfully so. Clay wanted to solve the mystery of the missing children very badly. He had seen many supernatural things as a result, and he wanted the kids' souls to rest. So, after realizing his son was possessed by Michael, maybe Clay exploited that to get some personal closure on the situation. Michael, having died so young, would probably be very hungry for a paternal figure to accept him, so he'd be easy to manipulate. And Clay is a smart man who knows his son, so when Carlton acts weird enough long enough, I do believe that Clay would put those dots together. Let's review the wording of the Sister Location ending again.
They didn't recognize me at first.
Because it was Michael in Carlton's body, not the ghost child they were used to interacting with.
But then they thought I was you.
You being Clay, the officer who tried to help them multiple times. Clay was sympathetic to the animatronics, and Baby certainly plays towards the idea that you'll be sympathetic to their plight. Coincidence? In the context of the books, saying,
I put her back together,
is also very interesting because Charlie inexplicably reappears at the end of the fourth closet. Someone rebuilt her and set her free, then Enard was its own separate thing. It's really confusing, but Charlie was also Baby and Elizabeth all combined in one, so if Charlie was set loose, then Elizabeth's spirit could still be in there controlling the baby animatronic that combined with Enard. Have I lost you? So sorry. Basically, I think Charlie's spirit went with the Charlie robot, and Elizabeth's spirit kind of went in with Enard. Maybe. Possibly. Potentially at least. Anyways, the end of the third book implies that Charlie found John quickly, but in reality, that could have been days, weeks, months later. We have no way to decipher what amount of time passed between John leaving the hospital and John going to the graveyard. In the Twisted Ones, the new Robo Charlie arrives hours later, so it's totally plausible that a new Charlie could be up and running in a short amount of time. It's just the amount of time that happens is really not fully clear in the fourth closet. But Carlton being possessed by Michael explains why that body doesn't die, even though it's been gutted twice. It's because Michael keeps it moving with his possession abilities, just like he did with the Golden Freddy suit. The parallels are right there. And hey, if you want to get all wibbly wobbly timey-wimey with it, Michael possessing Carlton could have been the first night guard too. Then when Golden Freddy comes around, who's now possessed by someone else for reasons, it could be that Michael possessing Carlton is the one saying, "It's me," as he urges one of his old haunts to calm down and not bother him. It might not be reality, but there's no right or wrong in theories, just what you like and what works for you. So there. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, "Hey, I made it to the end," and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.